Hi guys, welcome back. Things are going pretty well around here. We are finally getting some cooler fall weather. We're coming into the middle of October now. Finally getting some cooler temperatures, and I don't know about where you live, but I am really excited to be able to wear long sleeves again. And another great thing about the weather getting cooler is it makes it a lot more pleasant to actually do some projects in the kitchen, which is good because I have a lot of preservation projects that I need to be working on over the next few weeks. And first thing that I need to work on that I'm going to tackle today is this pile of okra. This is not all one picking, this is the last few, and I just haven't had time to do any of it yet. So when I go and pick okra, I just pick everything off the plant, so obviously some of this is overgrown and won't be any good to use. But a lot of it is. So first thing I'm going to do is just sort through and pick out stuff like that that's definitely bad. Some of them are going to be iffy, like that might be okay. What I'll do is I'll cut into it, and when you cut into it you can tell if it's too fibrous. So that's first thing. I'm just going to put everything that is definitely or might be okay in the colander and get it washed up, and then I will start putting them in jars. What I'm going to do is pickle it, and I'm going to do it a couple different ways. I'm going to do dill, and then I'm also going to do a different recipe that I did a batch of earlier this summer. It's spicy pickled onions, okra, and cherry tomatoes. And so I'm going to do a little bit more of that and some regular pickled dill okra, and I'm going to show you how we do that. Okay guys, so I'm going to go ahead and get started on the first recipe. I've got 6 clean jars here. This is the recipe for it's spicy pickled okra with cherry tomatoes and pearl onions. I'm not using pearl onions, but that's what it's called. So this recipe is in this book, the All New Ball Book of Canning and Preserving. I'm still new to this, so I don't really know how much of recipes like that it's okay to share or not share, because it's not my recipe. So I mean, obviously you're gonna see what I'm putting in the jars, but I don't know as far as sharing like specific amounts or what the brine is, if that's okay. So what I'm gonna do is, if you don't have this book and this is a recipe you'd like to try, I'm going to link the book in the description if you want to buy it. If you don't and you still want to find the recipe, I would say this is probably available in most libraries if you just want to look at it that way. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get started on this, but I just wanted to mention that. And the other recipe I'm going to use for the pickled dill okra, that is a public recipe. It's available for free on the NCHFP website, so I'm going to also link that in the description. So anyway, first thing I'm going to do is add all my the spices, flavorings to the jar. So I've got dried whole cayenne peppers from last year. I've got mustard seed, whole peppercorns, and garlic. And once I've got those things in there, then I will start on the onions, okra, and tomatoes. Can you tell I'm in a hurry? I don't know if I really showed up on the time lapse what happened, but I was crushing the garlic cloves and put them in there, and twice in a row I put 2 cloves in the same jar instead of moving in the next jar, so I had to pull them out and put them in different ones. Anyway, now that I got all that stuff in there, I'm going to do the onion goes in first. Like I mentioned, the recipe calls for pearl onions. I am too cheap to buy pearl onions specifically for this recipe, and I have literally a ton of onions right now. I have some that I had before that I just bought at the store, and I also have a 50-pound bag of onions in here, so no way am I going and buying pearl onions especially for this. So I'm just going to take a regular onion and peel it and cut it into pieces and divide it among the jars. Okay, onions are in. Next up is okra, and so typically when we do pickled okra, like if you go buy it in the store, they're whole pods. They just cut like the top of the stem off even with the cap, and they just leave them whole like that. So that's fine when they're small this size. That's great. But and honestly, this one's probably not going to be any good, but once I start to cut it, I will know for sure. But even with the Clemson spineless, those are pretty long and skinny. But the Star of David variety that I grew, they are shorter and fatter. So if you try to fit that in a jar, you're maybe going to get like 4 or maybe 5, just because they're so big in diameter. And I like to have more pieces. Anyway, so when I have bigger ones like that, I actually cut them into like 1/2-inch chunks and put them in. So you're going to see me do that with some of these jars in both this one and when I do the dill. So that's why, I don't know if other people do that too, but that's what I'm doing. So any that are small enough to leave whole like this, I will do that. And any that are too big, I will cut it into chunks and fill. Not all the way. We want to leave a little bit of room because we're still going to put cherry tomatoes on top. And now in the very top we're going to put some cherry tomatoes. Okay, so I got the cherry tomatoes added to those, added the hot brine, added lids, and I went ahead and set them in the canner. It is not to a boil yet, they're just sitting in warm water so they don't get cooled down. So I'm going to go ahead and do the regular dill, okra, and then I can process them all together. I'm not sure how many more jars worth of okra I have, so I'm just going to get a few ready at a time so I don't end up with a jar with stuff in it that I don't have okra for. So I'm just starting with 3, and I will get more as needed. So like I said, this is a public recipe and I will link that in the description. So to each jar I'm going to add 1 clove of garlic, a 1/2 teaspoon of dill seed, then I will pack it with the okra. The recipe actually also calls for hot pepper also. I've never done that. Since I do have some more of the cayennes, I might try 1 or 2 jars like that. I haven't decided yet. I'm going to do these regular, and if I have more, I might do a couple that way. But anyway, then we pack it with okra and then do the brine. The brine for this one is, the recipe if you're doing a full batch is 6 cups of white vinegar, 6 cups of water, and 2/3 of a cup of canning salt. I just did half a batch because, again, I don't have a full batch worth of okra yet. I don't know exactly how much I have left. So anyway, what I have is 3 cups of vinegar, 3 cups of water, and 1/3 of a cup of salt. And it's heating up on the stove right now, so it'll be ready once I get the jars full. Alright, I've got them all in the canner. I actually had just exactly enough for those 3 jars of the regular Dill, so I've got 9 pints in total. And I've got them in the canner, and it's now I have to bring it to a boil and process them. One actually calls for 15 minutes and the other one only calls for 10, but I'm just going to go ahead and process them both for 15 minutes and then we will pull them out. As I said, I am going to link the to the website with that recipe on it, the NCHFP website, but I do just go on their website to reference sometimes when I misplace this book. But this book has everything, all the recipes that are on their website in it. And that's really handy to have if you're like me. I would much rather have a book like this open on the counter so I can just look at it instead of keeping, I have to pull my phone out and I have to unlock it, and sometimes it's gone like back to the top of the page or something like that and you can't find it quickly if you're just trying to look at something and say, hey, did I need a half a teaspoon or a teaspoon of that, So I kind of like just having the book that I can lay open like this and just glance at really quickly. So, not even trying to sell you on that, because all the websites are, all of the recipes are, as I said, just available on that website for free. But if you would find it handy to have a hard copy, I will link this book also, because I find that really handy to have. So, I will link both of those, and I'm going to go ahead and finish processing this okra. Alright, all 9 pints out of the canner and cooling down. Of course, I will wait till tomorrow to remove the rings and check all the seals, but it looks like they have all pinged, I think. But yeah, they turned out really nicely. One thing I really love about doing the chunks like this instead of the whole is I just think they're really pretty in the jar. Jars are still pretty hot, but they just make that really pretty flower or star kind of shape, which is nice. When you do that, that does, because it allows all the mucilage slime and the okra to release, it kind of makes the brine a little bit cloudy, but I don't mind that bit, so if you don't mind, I like doing it that way. I think it's pretty and it lets you get more in the jar, I think, when you're doing those really big pods. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you next time.